What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and final day of the season. Finally got to lift the trophy. It was a good day. It was a really, really good day, especially the result, the performance as well. Looks like we're ready and raring to go for the FA Cup final, so it's good to see, and let's get into it. So, first of all, let's talk the, the obvious big talking point, which is, of course, Terry's last game. Very nice to see that they had this tribute set up. I heard that he had an idea that he wanted to come out in the 26th minute, and I guess from there they were just like, you know what, let's give him a guard of honor on his way out. So, very nice tribute to him. I don't know, it feels right. He's been our captain for so long. He's been such a loyal player to the club. Even this season, where he could have gotten all frustrated because he's not getting time, he's not playing. All he's doing, he's just sitting on the bench. He's saying, you know what, we're winning. I'm happy. I'm happy that we're winning. It means so much more to him that the team's doing well rather than he's getting any playing time. So he's just such a loyal player, and he's been, like you said, been a captain at our club for so long. He deserves a proper send off, and today was that. So I don't know. It's just all around a very classy gesture from the team, and on top of that, even from some of the Sunderland players. Pickford had it. Costa's like, send it out, and he sends it out of bounds so he can come off in the 26th minute. So all around, very, very touching moment. But let's talk about the goals next, because first of all, we did start off a little bit sloppy. Free kick just outside the box after it was kind of a slow start. Just some sloppy passes, a little bit slow as far as moving the ball, and then on top of that, they win the ball, and then we're slow to make the challenge. We're diving in. David Luiz dives in, knocks over Ian Azai, and so that just sets up an easy free kick top of the box. Not a very well hit free kick, but it does deflect off the wall. Moses tries to get a kick out and ends up deflecting off of his knee. Goes to the far post to a guy who's just wide open. Nobody's marking him. Easy shot. I mean, just you're one-on-one with the keeper. You're wide open in a ton of space. It's an easy finish, and he just put it high while Courtois was looking to, ready for him to pass it low. So it was just a very sloppy start to the game, and at first I was a little bit concerned, but as we started growing into the game, we get a bit more as we started really moving the ball and really working them side to side. It became obvious that this was our game, and we were not about to lose this or even draw. So we keep pushing, and it eventually does come after a lot of possession in and around their 18. I mean, just so many passes. I don't think I've ever seen so many passes where the other team has pretty much everybody in their box, and then we also have probably like 8 or 9 players in their box. So many passes being moved around. I mean, it was ridiculous how we kept possession in that tight space. And so we're just passing. Eventually, the ball finally comes out to Willian, who just buries it. Just so much power on it. Even Pickford, gets a hand to it, but it's so much power that it ends up just bouncing up under his hand and goes in. So, good way to tie it up. And then the second half comes around. We're still dominating, but the chances that we're getting, we're not finishing, or they're not great chances, and so it's kind of like, oh yeah, that was kind of a chance, but not really. And then finally, there's a moment where it comes to Costa. He has a chance to settle it off his chest, lays it out wide to Hazard, who takes a touch, finds the back post with a nice finish. So that puts us up. And then third goal comes courtesy of Pedro. He comes on as a sub. Fabregas sends a nice ball to him, but just a little bit under hit. But the defender doesn't read the situation, ends up actually heading it over Pickford, and Pedro's there to finish it off, so it makes it 3-1. Now at this point it's comfortable. Batshuayi come in earlier and did pretty well, but nice to cap it off with a goal. Just simple little Pedro picks up the ball, runs to the defense. Batshuayi times his run well. Pedro lays it in behind. He passes it, just kind of slides and passes it in under Pickford. And then finally, like, last minute of stoppage time, I'm expecting him to just kind of like run out the clock, but you could tell he wanted to score again, so he picks it up outside the box, takes it inside, and then just curls it towards the far post. Pickford gets a touch on it, but it's not enough. It makes it 5-1. That's a great result. It's a great result, and it was a great performance to go along with it. So overall, I'm very, very happy, and the lineup I'm happy with it as well. I love the fact that Terry got to start, but I'm glad that we have, I think, most of what's probably going to be our starting lineup when it comes to the FA Cup final next week. Willian probably, I feel like Pedro probably will get the start over Willian just because I think I think Conte sees Willian as more effective coming off the bench late on because when he's fresh, while everybody else is a bit tired, he can be extremely deadly. And we saw that earlier in the year when we faced Man City. So I feel like Pedro probably will get the start over him, but I'm thinking Fabregas is probably going to get the start because once again he showed today he has the quality to make the pass in the midfield. And as far as the back line, I think Terry knew when he suggested this coming off in the 26th minute. I think he knew that Cahill needed to get time in today, and so that's why he said I'll play the first 26 and then Cahill can play the rest. Because obviously he wants to get the start since this is the last game. But Cahill's probably going to be the one playing in the weekend, so he comes in off the bench and gets a majority of the time. So overall, very, very happy with the lineup and very happy that we let a lot of our reserve team players play last week. Not the score line that we wanted, but they did get the result, so that's nice. It's nice to know that they can come off the bench if we need them and still produce. But today was kind of showing this is our team. This is our first team, and we easily cruised by Sunderland. So, yeah, it's a very good performance. But let's talk about individuals. Courtois today had a few times where he had to make a save. There were a couple moments where Sunderland kind of turned it on for a second. They're so strange. Like, it's very hard to sort of predict Sunderland because you think, okay, they've been doing terrible all year, they're already relegated, they're going to be done, right? Well, a couple weeks ago, they're playing against Hull, and Hull are looking to stay up, and somehow Sunderland turns on a performance and beats them 2-0. I'm just like, where did this come from? So, they are a team that has the ability to do it, but I do think the quality is lacking, and I think they really don't have the mental focus to do it for 90 minutes. But you could see where those few minutes where they turned it on and they're going hard, they're pressing, they're moving the ball around a lot, that's where they looked a bit dangerous. And so they did get a couple shots away, but Courtois was aware. Obviously the goal, a little bit unlucky just because it fell to the guy right in the prime position to where the keeper sort of, you don't know whether to come or not. And then on top of that, he puts it up high. When it's that close and it's up high, it's nearly impossible for a keeper to make a save from there. Just up here, not this type of high. I'm talking about up above, as he's looking to make the save down low. So it was very unlucky that he didn't make a save on the first goal, but he was called upon a couple other times and he was aware for it. So good overall performance for him. Didn't have a whole lot to do though. As far as our defense goes, I'm not really I don't know if I can judge Terry just because he wasn't out there very long. But we did get several corners, and he was involved in a couple of those, winning the corners, because he still works very hard, and God, I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss him as a player. He's definitely a leader out there, and his effort, even if it's not necessarily, he's lost a bit of his fitness, he's lost a bit of his, speed, and maybe even a little bit of his technical, defensive side of his game. Despite all that, he still has the heart. And just watching him go after every single ball that came his way, it's like, that's why he's out. That's why he was such a great leader at this club, because that mentality just oozes onto the other players on the field, because they see him doing that, and they're like, I'm going to go do that too. So just watching him do that, you see he still has that mentality. I have no doubt that he could go somewhere else and play. Maybe not, probably not like high level, like top Premier League clubs, but he could probably go play for like a mid-table side or probably a top club at one of the lower leagues. But I don't think he's done yet. I think he wanted to retire here, but I think he sees that we have a lot of quality that at his age he's not able to keep up to the same pace. So I think he realized that he still has a little bit left in his tank and wants to go somewhere else to finish off. But I do believe he's probably going to come back and try to get a coaching role if he can. So that's it for Terry. As far as everybody else, Azpilicueta did pretty well today. Mainly got up in the attack, though, because Sunderland were very, very deep. And I've noticed that in several games where... sorry. Still suffering from last night. A lot of cheering at the Atlanta United game. But a lot of games where the team will sit really deep, Aspilicueta kind of pushes forward a little bit and helps out in the attack as much as he can. So he did that a lot today. Just got up there, moved the ball around very well, and so it's something that he's a player that can get up in the attack if you need him to. Just don't have him take a shot because that's not really his side of his game. But he moves the ball very well. He passes it. Got the assist for Batshuayi's goal. Even got an assist. He's probably had quite a few assists throughout this season. So looking forward to that, to see how much he's able to get forward against Arsenal in the FA Cup. But David Luiz, for the most part, good today. I've been worried about his mistakes throughout the second half of the season. Just a few games where it felt like he was making poor decisions. He was getting pulled out when he shouldn't, and it was hurting our back line. It was forcing Aspilicueta and Cahill to make up for his stepping into the midfield and not tracking back. But today he stayed fairly fairly central and fairly defensive today. He didn't really get a whole lot going forward, and defensively did well, just shutting down any sort of counterattack that Sunderland were hoping to get. And then finally Cahill came on and for the most part, just did what he's supposed to do. I've complained about him through most of the season, but to be honest, he's been solid whenever we needed him to be. There obviously have been a couple games where I've been very frustrated with him, but defensively he does okay. It's mainly against those top level teams where they move the ball around a lot, where he kind of gets lost and gets pulled out of position when he should be tracking another man. So the mistakes are there whenever we're facing top level opposition, but against Sunderland you don't really have to worry about that. So today did his job fine. So that's about all I have to say. Just nothing really spectacular from him. Alonso and Moses on the wingbacks again. Alonso definitely very attacking today. Moses also very attacking today. And that's what you get whenever you're up against a team like Sunderland, who not only are a lesser team to us, but also very defensive. You're going to expect to see the wingbacks up a lot, in the attack constantly, just moving the ball around whenever they can, that type of thing. Because, they're leaving one guy forward in Barini, so chances are they don't really have to track back a whole lot. But I will say both of them had very solid games. Neither of them really made mistakes when it came to the attacking side of it, which is something that, Alonso a couple games has had those moments where it should be a better cross, but he's not hitting it very well, and it's a poor cross or it's a bad pass that leads to a counterattack. But today he didn't make those mistakes. And Moses just, once again, a constant threat cutting in from the wings. Just that, honestly, kind of want to see Willian out there as well, because he does the same type of thing where they're out wide, they're one-on-one with the defender, and all of a sudden it's just that speed, that quick cut, and then they're trying to get in behind, and they're going at pace and taking on the defender, trying to go to the end line and cut in. Moses does that very, very well, and he did it quite a few times today and caused a lot of problems for the defense. In the midfield, Conte and Fabregas, like I said, I think Fabregas will probably start next week. At least I hope he does. Mainly because he just, he controls the midfield with his passes. At first, whenever they had a high press, they were working really hard, a lot of running around. There were a few passes that went astray under those high intensity situations, but as we sort of grew into the game, you could see he calmed down. Conte even calmed down a little bit because he was sort of flying everywhere as well and not really, holding it down in the midfield. So as they calmed down, things definitely got a lot more controlled in the midfield. But, Fabregas' passes are they are incredible. He sets up a whole lot, set up the Pedro goal. I think it was his pass that led to Costa chesting it down and laying it off to Hazard. So, I can't imagine why he wouldn't start based on his performances recently. Just the goals that he's scored, the assists that he's created, the chances he's created just from his passing. I can't imagine why he wouldn't start, but, throughout most of the season I've been thinking the same thing, and Matic has still gotten to start. So nothing really against Matic. I just really think that Fabregas deserves to start after what we've seen from the past couple games. And then Conte, what can I say? He's won a ton of awards and he's earned it. Today, not really as not effective, but not as involved because Sunderland rarely got forward. But there are still a couple times where he just showed that he can boss in the midfield. He can completely take control and say, all right, this is our ball. If you get it, I'm winning it back. And once again, just a joke that was made earlier in the season. Got to see it again today. Some people have said, oh, his passing needs some work, but I think he gives away the pass on purpose so he can go make another tackle. And there were a couple times where bad pass, but then he's winning it right back again. So very few players are known for doing that. Most of the time you see a player make a bad pass, it's kind of like, drop their head, they turn off. Conte's like bad pass, goes and hits them to win it back. So yeah, really just hard work again today. Same old Conte that I've come to expect. I honestly feel like if we're able to hold on to him for the next couple of years, we should have the title for the next couple of years because he just there's no words really to describe how important he is in the midfield. Just what he does there, it wins games. It's just if your forwards aren't scoring, it's okay. As long as they're creating chances, Conte is going to be there stopping any sort of attack going forward. So yeah, he's a boss in the midfield, and I love watching him play. Hazard and Willian up top. Like I said, Willian probably won't get the start next weekend just because I think Pedro is kind of preferred because of his like the fancy passes between him, Costa, and Hazard. And you could see that today, where Willian is much more of a, I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to dribble at pace and try to beat you down the line and cut in. Pedro is much more of a, I'm going to cut it back and I'm going to look to play a quick 1-2. That being said, Pedro's mistakes do sometimes hinder, and there are even a couple times when he came on today where there's a moment you're thinking, all right, just lay it off, and he's looking to shoot instead because he's a bit selfish. But I do think his creative prowess is more than Williams in that when you want to play quick 1-2, I'd much rather have Pedro in, whereas Willian, if you're looking to counterattack, I think he's very effective. Just that speed that he has to turn on in an instant. But his goal today, very good shot, and he has that ability as well. I mean, we've seen his free kicks. He has the ability to hit it with power, and so he's also a very good option. So I just think looking at Willian, looking at Pedro, it just depends on the type of game. Today, probably a bit more of a Pedro game just because of how deep Sunderland were sitting. There wasn't a whole lot of a chance for a counterattack. But it obviously is kind of like, all right, let's give Pedro a bit of a rest. And whenever Pedro came on, he came on for Hazard because we want to give Hazard a bit of a rest. So, Willian today played well. Hazard today very dangerous. Once again, just creating a lot of chances. I feel like I've said all of these things before, so I feel like I'm kind of on repeat. But the one today that is not on repeat, unfortunately, though, is Costa. Just not really involved. Just bad touches. His passes weren't great today. His movement, while okay, still wasn't great. There's that one moment where he kind of got caught up in the moment in his frustration, and he's wrestling with O'Shea and then gets himself booked for his reaction afterwards. So it's kind of concerning just because that's the Costa from last season. We don't want that Costa to return. And there have been a few games in the second half of the season where it felt like maybe he's back. So yeah, just watching him today, it didn't feel like he was very combative. It didn't feel like he was the old Costa returning, but you could see that frustration was there, and the passing just wasn't there. So whenever Batman came on, it was kind of like we kind of need that. We need somebody up there who's going to not only make better passes but also work harder, because it seemed like that pass that wouldn't come off for Costa, the same reaction I was talking about earlier, and he turns off, and all of a sudden, even if the ball comes right by him, he's not ready for it. Batman just works and works and works and works. And he played well today. And in my opinion, you might want to look at the first half and say, all right, Costa, you have the first half to do something. If we don't see anything, you're coming off pretty early, because he hasn't produced recently when we've needed him to. And that's why he has. So that's just maybe something to look at. Obviously, Costa has the potential to completely run over a defense if he's on his game in form, but if he's not, he's kind of useless up there. So I just think it depends on kind of how what kind of mood he's in, how he's playing next weekend, whether or not we want him up there or we want Batshuayi up there. But either way, Batshuayi played well. Pedro came on, played pretty well, and that's about it for individual performances. So that's all I can say for this game. Obviously, next week is really the week that's much more important. Today, getting the record for the most wins in a season, great, awesome. Loved the fact that we managed to beat that record that Mourinho previously held. But I don't know, it felt more like this was just, all right, let's finish this game without getting any injuries or any suspensions, and then we'll lift the trophy at the end of it, and then next week, that's where our focus is. We want to win the double, because it's a big deal. Not only is it winning the double, it's also getting one over on Arsenal one more time, and that's, who doesn't love that, But going into next week, like I said, I don't really mind this lineup. Probably will see Pedro in over Willian, but I hope Fabregas still starts. I hope that Costa does start, but is in a bit better form next week. But, going into the game, it's looking pretty good for us. I think Gabriel may be hurt, and then Koscielny got himself sent off today for a stupid challenge. So, yeah, looking at next week's game, looking pretty good for us, especially when it comes to Arsenal's defense. So, hopefully we can just run rampant and easily put away the game early so we don't have to stress throughout most of the game. But we do obviously have to. I think I heard Sanchez got hurt today. Not sure if that's true or not. But if he's not, he's been in really good form recently, so we got to make sure we watch that. But I don't know. I feel very confident going into that game, and that is the game that I think is going to take a lot more focus. So looking forward to that game. I'm going to do another end-of-season wrap-up review after the game is over. I'm going to review the FA Cup game, and then I'll do a review of this season as a whole. Probably going to do a little bit of research, looking up stats, looking up specific games, just so I can sort of make sure that I'm saying stuff that matches up with what I said earlier in the season, because I know there are going to be a couple things I'm going to say now that, looking back, at the moment I probably said something completely different because my feelings now have changed. The one that I'm thinking of in particular is the Arsenal game where we lost 3-0. I remember saying some very harsh things that game, and then now I look back and I'm like, that was actually the kick in the ass we needed to get ourselves going. So I look back on that game with not so much frustration, but now it's almost like, that game meant a lot more than I originally thought it was going to. So, but that review is coming as well after the FA Cup is officially over, after our season has officially ended. And then, probably talk about looking at next year, looking at the transfer window, all that type of stuff. So, season's almost over. It's been a very good season. Looking forward to next week. Hopefully we've got 2 trophies to hold up at the end of the season. So, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this game? What do you expect to see next week? What do you want to see next week? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews. I'll see you in the next game. Peace out.